Now we've got somebody who's got most probably a longer history in Muizenberg, but certainly it goes back further. And Asher Shapiro will come up and talk a little bit about his experiences.
Thanks, Ian. Yes, I've often wondered about how it was that Muizenberg has attracted the eminence that it has, and you've explained why. And when you asked me to talk about Muizenberg, I was just overwhelmed by the emotion of happiness. We had a most happy, innocent time there. It was productive in so many ways and creative in so many ways. The privilege of growing up in Muizenberg. And that is absolutely true. And I think the privilege was the community of us kids. I was there from 41 to 59. And when you talked about the school being 55%, where's that? There, 55%. When I was at school, and I'm not kidding, I reckon it must have been 90%. 90% Jewish kids there. So we were a huge crowd of young kids who had to entertain ourselves, and we had ample opportunity for doing that. We had to be very creative about how we entertained ourselves, and we did lots of things. The beach, of course, was a focal point, and so even before going to school in the mornings, we used to run down to the beach and have a swim. Dry ourselves down, get changed, go up to school, and collect all the others as we walked from our respective houses to school. You know, the kids would wait on the pavement, and we would collect them. So by the time we got to school, there was probably about 10 of us, you know, out of the whole community there, or more. So it started like that, and it was always fun. We always had an enjoyable time. The beach again, when the season came at the end of the year, all the Johannesburg visitors and from everywhere else in South Africa, us kids organized a thing called the Lizard Club. It was the Lizard Club because the beach was the snake pit. So we called it the Lizard Club, and we sold tickets on the beach for the Lizard Club, which took place in the Talmatora Hall in Weru Road, where we had organized a live band. Pepsi Cola was new at the time, so that was a big draw. And I think we had hot dogs. And so it was a dance, and everybody looked forward to the Lizard Club nights. We did that. We played lots of games on the beach. I think in one of the circulars, or there's reference to Bok Bok, which was a great game. We enjoyed that very much, and so a lot of things happened down there. At school, sometimes there was bullying. So a couple of us got together and we established the CTB, Conquer the Bullies. It was about 6 of us. We met in secret and we devised special ID tokens, and it was going to be our job to make sure that the bullies didn't triumph, you see, in the playground. So one day, there was a fellow called Ronald Esler, who was a big chap for his age, and he was also an older kid. He was bullying somebody, and so after which he went to have a drink of water at the tap, which was attached to the school wall, bending down there, and so the cry went out, you see, CTB, CTB. So the 6 of us all gathered around him. We were ready for him. He finished drinking at the tap, turned around, looked at us, and then we just dissolved. So we decided to call it a day. Oh my God. We divided ourselves into 2 big teams. This was going to be the Olympic Games. So our mothers sewed flags for us. We had flag posts, And we had all kinds of competitions on the lawns. Do you remember the lawns?
Yeah.
Near the promenade. So we ran, we threw discus, we got a hold of a piece of lead, which was our shot put. And so we had a very great competitive time then. But we thought about it, and we did it. We even organized what we called the GOS.
Yeah.
That was the boys and girls. You're nodding your head.
I was born in Muizenberg, and I lived there till I got married.
Yeah? When was that?
Do you want to tell us who you are?
No, when I was born or when I got married?
No. But who are you? So when I said the GOS, you seem to recognize the...
Well, I lived there my whole life.
Can you just tell us who you are, because we don't recognize you.
Oh my goodness me. Selwyn.
Sorry?
Selwyn was...
My ex.
Okay. Well, nice to meet you. So we established BGOS, which was the Boys and Girls Own Zionist Society. And we also met there at the Talmatoda Hall on Friday nights after supper, or dinner, as I think it's called here. So that was something we did. Boys and girls, we got together and we discussed all sorts of things. We even formed a repertory society, and we put on a 3-act play. It was Arsenic and Old Lace. Again, in the Talmatoda Hall. It was quite an undertaking. You know, in the film, Boris Karloff plays a role, one of the characters in Arsenic and Old Lace. I took that role on the stage. Boris Karloff. So, of course, we ran for 3 nights, and that was quite good going. And you will have seen photos here of a musical called Keep Your Sunny Side Up. So we were involved with that, with the adults. And Harold Shaper, or as he was called later, Hal Shaper, wrote the music. He went on to be... Tell me?
Family.
Your what? Your family. Hal Shaper. He wrote it, and I see there's a photo here of Joan as well. Yes. So you see, we're going through all these things. I'm telling you, I became overwhelmed with all the memories of what went on there. And again, the happiness, you know, the joy of life at the time. Because we were communicating, we were doing things together. We were growing up together. You know, the thrust and parry of socializing and all of that sort of thing. We had parties on Saturday nights. Mostly it used to happen at the Apter's house, the twins, Merle and Daphne.
Yeah.
So Daphne was my girlfriend at one time for quite a few years. So it was always great to go to the Apter's because there was plenty of nice food. And so we had good times there. Yes, we messed around on the Flay. The Sea Scouts had a parking lot there, as it were, for their boats. So we used to go and mess around on the boats. And we had, oh, of course, I'm forgetting about Bioscope. Remember Bioscope?
Empire.
The Empire. It was the Majesties before, and there was the Empire. And on Saturdays, we used to go with a whole load of comics, which we used to swap. And when the lights started going down, you know, there was like a warning that go down and up and down and up. And everybody got so excited. We were screaming with excitement. Quickly went to sit in our seats. And I remember I used to go with 1 and 6 pence. It was 8 pence. I took my little brother. So it was 8 pence for each of us to go in. That's 1 and 4. And a penny each for Nestle chocolate at interval. So that was a great outfit. We appreciated it. Talk about privilege. It's not the penny or the 8 pence, it's how we lived and how we grew up. Our canvas, our world was a huge canvas with all sorts of ways of putting paint on it. Today, the world's canvas has been reduced to an iPod or a tablet. And we don't see what's around us. We don't communicate in the same way. We don't interact physically in the same way. as we did then. I know I'm sounding like an old man now, talking about how things were, but I think it's true. So I think that's all I really wanted to say. And as I say, going through this exhibition here, it was just overwhelming that all of these things came back to my memory. And thanks for that.
Maybe you just explain. Maybe for some people that aren't that familiar with the game, maybe you can just explain the detail of that book game that you mentioned.
Okay, so a book is a buck, Afrikaans word.
Yes.
And you had one guy stand up against the bathing box, and you had about 5 other guys. So if the man was here, or the boy was here, we would stand like this, you see?
Yep.
5 of us, one behind the other.
That's right.
And then the rest of the team would come running from about 20 meters away, jump onto the back of the last chap, and propel yourself as far forward as you could, so that the last chap who came had place to land on the backs of those guys. And then they had to keep your weight up, you see. If they buckled, then we had another go. They had to bend down again. And then we used to, when it was all when we were being held, then one of us on top would say, "Bok staan styf, hoeveel vingers op my lyf?" And you held up like this, or like this, or like this, and they had to guess how many fingers. Did you understand that? If they got it wrong, we had another chance. Of course, by that time, they all buckled anyway. So that was book. And you remember there was a game called Kennedy?
I remember the book, but I don't remember the Kennedy.
Yes, it's been banned in South Africa. It turned out to be a dangerous game. And what else?
Asher, what about the snake charmer? Did you have the snake charmer in Muizenberg? In my day, we used to have a snake charmer. He was an Indian man who would sit cross-legged, and in the basket would be the cobra, and he'd blow the flute and the cobra would come up.
Well, I'm glad I don't remember it.
It was in front of the pavilion on the pavement.
Oh, I see. No, I don't remember that.
As a holidaymaker, there were some very grand homes opposite the pavilion.
Yes.
And there were just some very mysterious people living there that no one ever saw. And
Yeah.
you know,
That was the opposite.
you'd
Yes,
see a
I
fancy
think
car.
they mostly came down, in the season time. There was Pevsner, as you said, Oppenheimer, Schlesinger, Bertie Stern had a big place there.
Lubner's had
Who else was down there?
Lubner.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And on the main road there was A.B. Bailey, Garlics, yes. And so, yeah. Okay.